we needed a bargaining structure that would work. In 1968, a book called Construction Labor Relations was written. It was the Canadian Construction Association and the Building Trades Centennial Project. It was written by a guy by the name of Goldenberg, assisted by a fellow by the name of Crispo. The book basically said, in construction bargaining, what you need to do is you need to take the power of the union on an individual employer and balance it. Prior to 1968, what we did to bargain was we waited until the employer got a job, and then we pounded that guy. And he would give us a nickel more. And we'd wait until his competitor got a job, and we'd go and visit them, and we'd pound him and get a nickel more. Somehow we had to even out the bargaining field. And what Crispo and Goldenberg said was, create essentially a union of contractors which will bargain with the union. This works on a craft basis. This would work on a wall-to-wall basis. This would work on an all-industry basis. Earlier on in the proceedings, someone asked a question of Mr. Rottenson, who gave you, I thought, both a from-the-shoulder and a sensible answer, saying, you know what, if you're bound, bent, and determined to bring the clackers and CEP in and give them a seat at the construction industry in this province, put everybody at the same bargaining table. Let everybody bargain the same deal and apply that deal on every job. And let the companies that manage the best can put the people and the equipment and the plans and the planning and the mobilization together at one place and one time, and let them build the project. Let the best company win with compensation that is based on something other than the wage rate. CLR is an exclusive bargaining agent, and a number of people have told you that is absolutely unique and exclusive and undemocratic, unconstitutional, unchristian, and probably just downright unpalatable. The truth is, every province in this country creates employer bargaining agencies. And each one of those employer bargaining agencies are a sole and exclusive bargaining agent. It's the only way it works. You know, if you think about it, a small company with 10 employees, if the union gets certified, what is going to happen to bargaining if 7 of the employees go and make their own deal with the boss? It doesn't work. That's why in the construction industry, these employer bargaining federations are protected essentially by the legislation. You don't have to like CLR, you don't have to love CLR, but you do have to acknowledge that CLR exists and that CLR serves a useful purpose. It balances off the power of the unions with the power of the employers who may not have a job at the time of bargaining. It prevents whipsawing and leapfrogging. It keeps people bargaining on the same playing field. Any employer today can come into Saskatchewan to do construction work. They make a business decision. Mr. Brown told you quite fairly, I think, that their business decision is, we're not coming to Saskatchewan unless we can bring the Christian Labor Association. They're making a business decision. They're not being barred from coming here. They are deciding they are not coming if there is a chance they might get certified by building trades unions because it's not their business model. Much talk was made in dealing with the issue of freedom to make arrangements. The issue of choice should be an issue that an employee makes in his own economic interest. If you have a situation in my home province where sometimes the contract goes to Ledcor, if someone's out of work, his choice is work for Ledcor or starve. Usually not a palatable choice for a lot of people. A lot of people somehow generally tend to select work over starve. If you want to have choice, let everybody play, but make them play with the same pack of cards. The issue of choice also surfaces for employers. Employers have to be able to have a bargaining agent that they can rely on. If you set up competing bargaining agents, employers are going to go to the bargaining agent that gets them the deal they think is the best for them. It will undermine your bargaining system. If you look at the legislation in Alberta, the legislation in Ontario, the legislation in Nova Scotia or Newfoundland, they will all contain provisions that say when strike or lockout occurs, an employer who's represented by a registered bargaining agent cannot make a deal with the union until 60 days after strike or lockout took place. Seems strange, right? But there's a policy reason for it. If the minute strike or lockout occurs and someone can scurry off and go make a deal, the person who really feels they need a deal leaves the rest of the body politic high and dry. Multi-trade or wall-to-wall, the truth is construction people are in the craft business. No one working for Ledcor takes the broom out of the hand of a 17-year-old kid who's been there for 2 years, or 2 days, and says, climb up to the top of that tower, 350 feet free fall, take this TIG welding application and weld that aluminum whatever. Welders weld, plumbers do plumbing, steam fitters do steam fitting, iron workers do iron worker work. Some of the roustabouts, you know, everybody has to learn by picking things up. Collective agreements outside of, and I'm basically going through the policy themes in the backgrounder. Collective agreements outside of the registered employers organization make the system collapse. Project labor agreements is something that's set out in the backgrounder. We're in favor of project labor agreements. We have them all over the country. If you're going to have project labor agreements in your material, I would suggest you read Morgan Cooper's paper done for the Newfoundland government. What Mr. Cooper really comes up with is saying that if you have a project labor agreement and it's substantially lower than the rest of the industry, it is going to create instability and give problems. There were problems in Newfoundland, and he advised the Newfoundland government about that, which is why they have the special project order where the government has to approve a project agreement. Something worth looking at for any legislation. Project labor agreements overall, positive for the industry. Abandonment, quite simply, if a union is sleeping on its rights, it deserves to lose. If the union abandons, and I think you pointed to the decision in Saunders, which talks about it being a voluntary act on the union's part, or an inability of the union to seize into its duties, take their bargaining rights away. But if it's the employer creating an alter ego or playing a shell game, then the labor board needs to have some ability to keep the employee's choice from being replaced by the employer's desire not to have a union. In your material, the issue of maintenance is canvassed in a couple of spots. I would urge you not to change from the current maintenance system. Mr. Ottenson told you we're really talking about contract maintenance here. The truth is, whether it is a construction project or a maintenance project, the work that the Boilermakers or the pipe fitters or whoever are doing, same people with the same tools, generally working for the same employer in the same plant, the plant that they likely built, doing the work in the same way over a shorter period of time. It is unique to Saskatchewan, but it's something that seems to work for Saskatchewan. And it's something that seems to work in a very effective way here when you look at the success of the construction maintenance or the contract maintenance system here.